Thank you, Walter, for that kind introduction, and Director Xiao also really appreciate the lead into this. This is a great opportunity to restate and clarify U.S. position, not only on the economic relationship with Taiwan, but the relationship writ large. It says a lot about Taiwan, especially before the corona virus hit. And a lot of the tourism from the mainland to Taiwan would see the sights during the day and enjoy the culture and all that. But at night, you heard about folks huddled around their TV and watching what a vibrant democracy looks like and hearing open discussion back and forth and criticism and support for government decisions and the like.
台中火力发电厂它影响的范围，请问大概有多大？火力发电厂是我的选区啊，我必须要帮当地民众讲一下话。它影响范围有多大？你觉得它制造出来的污染物会飞到哪里去？
要看那个气象条件啦，当然这个
看气象大气条件嘛，因为它的不同风向、它的扩散环境，然后包含大肚山、包含这个嘉南平原都会受影响嘛。是。那台中火力发电厂现在补助哪些区域？它的这个所谓敦亲睦邻空污基金相关的补助哪些区域？
烧煤电厂是10公里范围之内。
10公里范围之内，所以你的意思就是它的空污飘到10公里之后，它就会自动回头？哦。
也不是这个问题。
也不是这个问题，那怎么办？因为今天在抗议的不只是当地10公里范围内的人，你对其他的民众这样子做是不是不太公平？
And those are the things that make Taiwan special. For these visitors to the mainland, this experience reminds them that no one person, party, anyone can monopolize the minds and thoughts of all Chinese people. Indeed, those experiences served as the most compelling tourist attraction of all, a vision of a democratic Chinese society and polity that's prosperous, harmonious, free, and highly respected by people all around the world. So if you visit the National Palace Museum in Taipei, you see the treasures that escaped the communist Red Guards and the horrific destruction of the Cultural Revolution.
我们可以看到镂空玉璧中的神兽，利用周围氤氲围绕的云气截断身躯。玉之设计者将神兽身躯中段隐没在如同云气的玉器之中。玛瑙剑位善用原料中的红白色泽，将左右红色区域琢磨为不同扭转方向的身躯，其余白色之处则设计为隐藏龙身的层层云气。长乐璧的设计者则借用玉璧的圆形外扩，截开左上方神兽的扭转身躯。此种精巧的视觉中断法源远流长，在艺术史中也不曾间断。古老并非陈旧，今日观之更显新潮。
In Taiwan, you can see a Chinese society that flourishes free of the toxic brew of Marxist Leninism and Mao Zedong thought that battered the mainland. Taiwan is a highly advanced $600 billion economy with 23 million free people, and it's also a vision of how much Chinese people can achieve. Until recently, Hong Kong provided a similar vision. Because of this, and more than ever, Taiwan is important to America and important to the world. It's a good friend to nations that seek help, whether in dealing with Ebola or COVID or the other problems faced in the world today. And it's for these reasons that we Americans focus so much on Taiwan and why we admire its leaders and its people and its institutions and its symbolism in world affairs. It's why large bipartisan majorities of our elected representatives signal consistent support for Taiwan and for its people and for the values that it represents. Now, there's a lot going on today in regard to U.S.-Taiwan relationship. To refresh, the Taiwan Relations Act directs that the United States will continue engagement with Taiwan to maintain stability in the Western Pacific and support commercial, cultural, and other relations between the people of the United States and Taiwan. As I'm sure everyone knows, Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar traveled to Taiwan earlier this month. He met with President Tsai Ing-wen and other senior members of her team to promote stronger health and economic ties, especially in light of the devastation of the coronavirus. Secretary Azar's trip was a continuation of our long-standing support for Taiwan. For years, we regularly sent cabinet officials to demonstrate our principled and sustained support. support. Last week, the American Institute in Taiwan director Brent Christensen joined Taiwan's foreign minister Joseph Wu to issue a joint declaration on 5G security, expanding cooperation on data protection, freedom, and human rights. In May, Secretary Pompeo and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross welcomed the announcement from TSMC, Taiwan's world-leading semiconductor company, declaring its intent to invest $12 billion in Arizona to manufacture the world's most advanced semiconductor chips for use in 5G and other applications right here in the United States. To build on this great momentum, I'm glad to share today that the United States and Taiwan are establishing a new bilateral economic dialogue. These talks will explore the full spectrum of our economic relationship, semiconductors, healthcare, energy, and beyond, with technology at the core. So given these various actions, you may wonder whether the United States is trying to signal policy change. The truth is, all those things I just outlined are entirely consistent with our longstanding policy. We have sent high-level delegations and officials to Taiwan before. We regularly conduct meetings with Taiwan's leaders, facilitated by the American Institute in Taiwan and Taiwan's representative office here in Washington. We and other countries, I might add, have approved significant arms sales under this and previous administrations. For nearly 4 decades, U.S. policy has been guided by the Taiwan Relations Act of 1979, the 3 joint communiques between Washington and Beijing, and the 6 assurances provided by President Reagan to Taipei in 1982. So all of these policy elements are important, but I'd like to dwell for a moment on the 6 assurances, partly because there's been some confusion about them over the years. In fact, I'm pleased to announce today that the administration has declassified 2 cables that detail the 6 assurances and underscore their importance. So here they are. First, the United States has set no date for ending arms sales to Taiwan. Second, the United States has not agreed to prior consultation with Beijing on arms sales with Taiwan. Third, the United States has not agreed to any mediation role between Beijing and Taipei. Fourth, the United States has not agreed to revise the Taiwan Relations Act. Fifth, the United States has not agreed to take any position regarding sovereignty of Taiwan. And sixth, the United States will never pressure Taiwan to negotiate with Beijing. These were the 6 assurances that President Reagan made to Taiwan in 1982, and they endure today. I invite everyone to go to the website of the American Institute in Taiwan, where these documents are now posted. Last year, we declassified and posted another related memo written by President Reagan in August 1982. In the memo, President Reagan wrote, quote, the U.S. willingness to reduce its arms sales to Taiwan is conditioned absolutely upon the continued commitment of China to the peaceful solution of the Taiwan PRC differences. In addition, it is essential that the quality and quantity of the arms provided to Taiwan be conditioned entirely on the threat posed by the PRC. It is important to review history like this because Beijing has a habit of distorting it.
特雷莎梅首相在他的报告中提到的，试图仍然以中英联合声明来主张，英国在香港事务上的所谓的不管是这样或那样的权利。香港1997年7月1日回归祖国之后，香港事务完全是中国的内政。我们已经一再讲，英方在1997年7月1日以后，对香港没有任何权利，他也从任何地方找到这样的所谓的权利。我们希望英方还是醒一醒。
So we should go back and consult the facts as often as we're able. Those facts were clear, and they're still clear. The U.S. has long had a one China policy. This is distinct from China's one China or Beijing's one China principle, under which the Chinese Communist Party asserts sovereignty over Taiwan. The U.S. takes no position on sovereignty over Taiwan. The fundamental U.S. interest is that the Taiwan question be resolved peacefully without coercion and in a manner acceptable to the people on both sides of the strait, as Beijing promised. Meanwhile, the U.S. maintains extensive, close, and friendly unofficial relationships with Taipei, including commitments to assist Taiwan in its self-defense pursuant to the Taiwan Relations Act.
世界上只有一个中国，台湾是中国领土不可分割的一部分。美方应该遵守的是一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报规定，而不是什么与台湾关系法或者6项保证。任何人都不能低估中方捍卫国家主权和领土完整的坚定决心和意志。
先别说这个了，你知道《本草纲目》有记载，脑残者无药医吗？
We have changed nothing about these long-standing policies. What we are doing, though, is making some important updates to our engagement with Taiwan to better reflect these policies and respond to changing circumstances. The adjustments are significant, but still well within the boundaries of one China policy. We feel compelled to make these adjustments for two reasons. First, because of the increasing threat posed by Beijing to peace and stability in the region, which is a vital interest to the United States. In recent years, the Chinese Communist Party has targeted Taiwan with diplomatic isolation, bellicose military threats and actions, cyber hacks, economic pressure, United Front interference activities, you name it. These actions challenge the peace and stability in the Western Pacific. So let's be clear, these destabilizing actions come from Beijing, not from Taipei or Washington. We support the longtime status quo across the Taiwan Strait. Beijing has unilaterally altered it through flipping of diplomatic partners, pushing Taiwan out of international organizations, stepped up military maneuvers, and other activities. So we must act to restore the balance. Other peace-loving countries should do the same. Looking at Hong Kong, it is clear that Beijing is willing to disregard the international obligations to extend its authoritarian system and box in freedom-loving people. We no longer have the luxury of assuming that Beijing will live up to the commitment to peacefully resolve its differences by Taipei, as it promised us in the 3 communiques. And while we continue to honor those agreements, I assure you that the United States is fully committed to upholding the Taiwan Relation Act, fulfilling our commitments under the 6 assurances as well. We will continue to help Taipei resist the Chinese Communist Party's campaign to pressure, intimidate, and marginalize Taiwan. The United States has responded and continues to respond to increased PRC military pressure by providing necessary defense articles and other support. As China's military equipment and technology rapidly advance, we believe it will be increasingly critical for Taiwan to invest in and deploy resilient and cost-effective capabilities that can be a credible deterrent to that growing PRC threat. This includes building an effective territorial defense force as a key part of that overall deterrence. The second reason we have been focusing on our engagement with Taiwan is simply to reflect the growing and deepening ties of friendship, trade, and productivity between the United States and Taiwan. While they may be interrelated, our relationship with Taiwan is not a subset of our bilateral relationship with the PRC. Our friendship and cooperation with Taiwan stands on its own, fed from the well springs of shared values, cultural affinity, and commercial and economic ties. The U.S. Congress, reflecting the will of the American people, has worked hard to ensure that our friendship with Taiwan further flourishes. Recently enacted by bipartisan margins, the Taiwan Travel Act encourages visits at all levels, while the Taipei Act calls for a much more active role for Taiwan in international organizations. We are fortunate in America to have a vibrant Taiwanese American community, which serves as an important bridge between our two peoples. With a population of 23 million, Taiwan continues to punch above its weight in economics as well as governance, thereby making the world a better place. That success has been all the more remarkable considering the many challenges and external pressures it has faced from across the strait. I know many of you have witnessed Taiwan's vibrant democracy and civil society in action. In walking the streets of Taipei, I marveled at the openness of Taiwan society and the seamless integration of its democratic system with traditional Chinese civilization, Confucian values, and indigenous cultures. A morning run in Taipei takes you past Taoist, Christian, and Muslim places of worship in quick succession. This is a tribute to Taiwan's religious freedom and pluralism, principles that are under threat all around the world and perhaps nowhere as much as in China. America and Taiwan are members of the same community of democracies, bound by our shared political, economic, and international values. In March 2019, Taiwan hosted the first civil society dialogue on securing religious freedom in the Indo-Pacific region. At that dialogue, Taiwan announced its pledge of $1 million to the State Department's International Religious Freedom Fund to provide critical assistance to those around the world facing discrimination for their religion and or beliefs. Last year, we convened the first U.S.-Taiwan consultations on democratic governance in the Indo-Pacific region, highlighting some of the many ways Taiwan is a model of good governance for Asia and the world. Surely, former President Lee Teng-hui, who passed away earlier this month after doing so much to transition from authoritarian governance to a thriving democracy, He must be pleased at this tangible evidence of his life's work. We have been celebrating his many contributions to multi-party democracy in Taiwan, including the first peaceful transfer of power to a rival political party. Secretary Azar's trip to Taipei further highlighted Taiwan's great success in marshaling accountability and transparency in the battle against COVID-19.
在1月30号的时候，我们的秘书长正式的对世界讲，要求大家不要限制跟大陆的旅游跟贸易。这句话也是造成到目前世界其他国家的困境的一个很大的原因。台湾并没有把这句话听进去，一句话一句话，未来都会被检视的了。好，时间序上面就慢慢会清楚。那我想，与其有时间来骂台湾不如花一点时间向台湾学习了。
Taiwan has not only been able to maintain a low number of cases and fatalities, it has also lent a helping hand by donating life-saving PPE around the world, including millions of masks to the United States. The coronavirus pandemic highlighted Taiwan's strength as a global supply chain leader. After COVID-19 emerged in China, Taiwan mobilized its domestic industry and became, for a time, the world's largest manufacturer of surgical masks.
Taiwan wants to engage with the world. Pandemics have no borders.
Of course, Taiwan already is well known as a critical node in global high-tech trade flows and U.S. technology supply chains, including for semiconductors and smart machinery. The announcement of TSMC's investment in Arizona illustrated this. TSMC's decision will shift critical technology supply chains back to the United States. While China seeks to dominate emerging technologies and industries, we work with trusted partners like Taiwan to ensure that next-generation technologies, data, and intellectual property are protected from theft and manipulation by malign actors. This is all part of a great Taiwan story, a free market economy that embraces innovation, entrepreneurship, and private sector-led growth, while holding true to its democratic principles. Given its track record, it should be no surprise that Taiwan is currently the United States' 9th largest trading partner. In 2019, Taiwan was the 7th largest U.S. agriculture import or export market by value. It ranks as a top 10 market for U.S. soybeans, corn, beef, wheat, fruit, poultry, and processed foods. This is the context for the welcome announcement made on Friday by President Tsai removing restrictions on U.S. pork and beef imports. Now that this important announcement has been made, I would expect Taiwan to become an even more important trade partner of the United States. On behalf of the American farmers and ranchers, I would like to thank President Tsai for demonstrating vision and taking these bold steps. I'd like to close by reflecting on Taiwan's role in the world. The United States has long worked to elevate Taiwan's profile in the international community, consistent with Taiwan's global importance as a trade partner, democracy, and model of resilience against malign influence. The Global Cooperation and Training Framework is a prime example. Since 2015, the United States and Taiwan have co-hosted capacity-building workshops for the Indo-Pacific region on issues ranging from anti-corruption to media literacy to women's economic empowerment. Last year, Japan joined us as a full partner in this program, and we have co-hosted GCTF events with other friends. We have just started to take these workshops on the road to the Western Hemisphere. Taiwan's outsized support for the global community in response to COVID-19 has illustrated its capabilities as and its generosity as a partner.
Taiwan's impressive handling of the coronavirus.
Taiwan, yes or no?
今回は台湾の方が対応が早くてバサッて。
我是台湾人。捷克的参议长不顾中方的多次的劝阻，也不顾捷克政府对他的采取这种行动的反对的态度，一定要去中国的台湾去。
是在 Hello，
而且把台湾公开把它称为国家，甚至还号召其他的欧洲其他国家也要跟着他去学。这不就是一种公开的挑衅吗？所以我们要告诉捷克的参议长，你过线了，维护国家的主权、领土完整是每一个中国人的责任。
We welcome the expanded engagement seen recently between Taiwan and countries in Europe, the Indo-Pacific, Latin America, and beyond, including visits, parliamentary exchanges, sister city pairings, trade and investment deals, public health cooperation, technology partnerships, and more. These engagements bring value to partners and promote stability and balance across the Western Pacific. In international organizations, the time has come for more countries to cooperate in expanding Taiwan's membership in fora for which statehood is not a requirement, and its meaningful participation, whether as an observer or otherwise, in those for which statehood is a requirement. In this latter category, I'm talking about the World Health Organization, the International Civil Aviation Organization, Interpol, and others. We should no longer countenance the bullying and coercion of 23 million people prevents us all from benefiting from Taiwan's experience and its expertise. So in closing, I appreciate the invitation to give these long overdue remarks today. Earlier in my military career, I had scarce opportunity to engage with Taiwan. I'm glad to see that is no longer the case. And I hope many others around the world similarly get to turn more of their focus to Taiwan, to the many opportunities for productive exchange, and also to the vital issues of security and international peace. The United States could not be prouder to work side by side with such a good friend as Taiwan. And we are restating our policies to underscore that we will continue to do so. Thank you.